everybody, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing one of my favorite videos to film, and it is new release books for March. I am so excited. I love going through the books that are coming out next month. I'm also filming this a little bit early because there are a ton of books, so I need a lot of time to edit this video. There are literally so many, so we're going to try to get through this very quickly. But oh my goodness, I couldn't believe how many books are on this list. And that being said, we're just gonna get right into it because, like I said, there are a million books we need to talk about. Also, there is one that we're going to talk about in a little more detail than the others just because there is a little bit of a scandal with that book apparently. So we gotta address that as I bring it up because it is going to be a pretty big release, I believe, and One Book Box is doing it. So we're gonna have to talk about that. But let's start on March 7th, and I have like 10 books or something like that. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 books that are releasing on March 7th. And of course, there may not be everything on here. I pick stuff that I am interested in / stuff that is going to be very big releases so that a bunch of people are interested in. So there's not like any historical fiction on here most of the time. There's not really a ton of young adult contemporary. There are some. So keep that in mind and go check out Goodreads and other lists of things coming out if I did not cover the stuff that you normally read. So the first one that we're going to be talking about is called All That Is Mine I Carry With Me by William Landay. It is the same author who wrote Defending Jacob, and I think that became a series on some network, on some streaming service. I don't remember which one, but this sounds really good, and it's something I didn't think that much about. But it is: a mother vanished, a father presumed guilty. There is no proof, there are no witnesses. For the children, there is only doubt. So in this case, a mom goes missing, presumed dead, and they think the dad did it, but they can't like prove it. And the kids are kind of just like living with the dad and trying to decide, did our dad kill our mom? And of course you don't want to think that. So this is something that definitely happens in real life all the time. It is something very common in true crime. We see it all the time when I listen to podcasts and watch my shows. So, I sounded like my mom watching my show. So I'm really, really excited to read this one and see how this author does this. The next one coming out on March 7th is a book I am personally not that excited about because I did read an Alex Finlay last year and I did not enjoy it. It is What Have We Done by Alex Finlay. And I like the premise though. The premise are these kids that grew up together, these three kids, and it's 25 years later and they come back together because someone is trying to kill them. So it sounds really, really cool, but I just don't trust it because of how much I did not enjoy the last book I read by this author. The next one coming out on March 7th sounds so cute. It is called Rosewood, A Midsummer Meet Cute by Sayantani Dasgupta. And it is a retelling of Sense and Sensibility in the form of young adult romance contemporary. And our main character, Ayla Das, is at a summer camp where the campers are being scouted for a Bridgerton-like TV show. That sounds so cute. I love that, and she meets a guy there, obviously. So I am so excited about this one. This one sounds adorable, and I would definitely be picking this one up, or at least like finding it from my library to read the second it comes out. The next one coming out is called Missing Clarissa by Ripley Jones. This looks like a young adult mystery thriller. And the reason that I added this one and the reason I found this is because it's definitely going to draw a lot of attention, I think. I think this is going to be a big upcoming one because it says it's for fans of Sadie and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And we know how much people love A Good Girl to Murder. Still something I haven't read. But I also love the premise of this because it says 2 best friends start a true crime podcast only to realize they may have helped a killer in the process. So that sounds something like I would absolutely love. The next one coming out on March 7th is called The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell. And it says a killer is on the loose when someone turns up dead on the set of a hit TV baking competition in this darkly beguiling debut mystery that is perfect for fans of Lucy Foley, Nita Prose, and Anthony Horowitz. And it says it's going to be a limited series on Hulu, so that's really cool. It's already been picked up. I always am confused when they pick things up before like a bunch of people have read it. Like, why would you? I guess they just thought it was such a good idea, and it sounds like it'll translate pretty well to TV. So the next one coming out is a cute romance with, this one sounds so good. I kind of hope that Book of the Month picks this one. This seems like something like on par for them. A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. Mariel Spark knows not to trust a demon, especially one that wants her soul, but what's a witch to do when he won't leave her side, and she kind of doesn't want him to. Yeah, That sounds literally 1000% like something I would want to read. So yeah, that's for me, I think. The next one is actually coming in a book box, and I'm kind of confused because I thought it was adult. Goodreads is confused by this one because people have tagged it as fantasy, romance, adult, and young adult fantasy. So I don't think anyone knows what this is, but I'm pretty sure this is adult fantasy. I think this is coming in an adult fantasy box. So this one is called The Foxglove King by Hannah F. Witten. A young woman's secret power to raise the dead plunges her into the dangerous and glamorous world of the sainted king's royal court. So that sounds really good to me. That's all I know about it. That's all I kind of want to know about it. I like going into romances a little more like unknowing, or I'm gonna be like weird about it. Like if I know too much about a romance, I'm like, do I really want to read this? But I do really want to read this. Okay, the next one coming out, this seems like a really cute one. I feel like this isn't gonna gain a lot of traction, but I found this one and I think it sounds really good. It is called Royal Blood by Amy Carter, and it's gonna be the first in a young adult mystery series. And she turns out that this American girl becomes the British monarchy's greatest nightmare. Turns out she's related to the British monarchy and she has to go stay there for a summer. And a murder investigation pops up and she gets embroiled in it. So I think it sounds like a lot of fun and I will be enjoying this one very much. Okay, the last one coming out on March 7th is the one we have to talk about. It is called Lies We Sing to the Sea by Sarah Underwood, and this has a 3.29 rating. However, it is being rating bombed by people. So it may actually be a really good book conceptually, but the author made a huge mistake while they were promoting this book, and I don't understand how this person's like publicist did not see this as a problem, like did not coach this person to talk about it. But and there's problematic things that I have read about this, so I'm gonna quickly talk about it very quickly so that you're informed, because it is coming in a book box. But the problem, it seems, is that she did an interview and she said she has never read the Odyssey, and the book is supposed to be an Odyssey like retelling. So it has pissed off quite a lot of people. Interview apparently is now deleted, but you can apparently still read the transcripts on a website. And I definitely think, like, I feel like this is a problem because everyone is latching onto the Greek mythology retellings, and so people who don't even have like that much interest in them are now doing retellings because it's just, well, there's so much. There's such a big world to it that there's just so much you can do with it. So people are like, oh, people are loving Greek retellings, let me do a Greek retelling. So it's definitely like the commercialization of it. Apparently the interview just really rubbed people the wrong way because she said stuff about other authors, and it's just, yeah, I don't know the full story. That's all I pretty much know about it. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say on it because I haven't read it. I don't know the full story. This is something that will probably continue to progress as we go through time and it's actually released, because when it's actually released, more people are going to be talking about it and there'll be some more discussions on it. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this. Okay, and that is the wrap up for March 7th. So there's a lot coming out then, but I think there's even more coming out March 14th. The first one that I want to talk about has a beautiful cover and it's called Dear Medusa by Olivia A. Cole. This searing and intimate novel in verse, I'm a little nervous about the verse part because I tend not to like that kind of stuff, follows a 16-year-old girl coping with sexual abuse as she grapples with how to reclaim her story, her anger, and her body in a world that seems determined to punish her for the sin of surviving. So it sounds like something I am going to be very uncomfortable about, but I'm also going to love at the same time because I love when things are just like violently honest. Like I love when people don't pull punches in these books because that's how you learn things. Oh, I am really excited about this, although very nervous. The next one is one of my most anticipated releases of the year. My mom and I read this author's, has read all their books so far. I think they only have 2 books, but it is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutanto. I am so excited for this one. This sounds so funny. My mom and I are both like foaming at the mouth to read this. What we do is we read it literally at the same time and we talk about it. Like let's read 100 pages. When we get to 100 pages, we talk about it and then we'll read another 100 pages. So I am so excited about this. A lonely shopkeeper takes it upon herself to solve a murder in the most peculiar way in this captivating mystery by best-selling author of Dal A for Aunties. I'm so excited about it. And I know it has to do with, this older woman decides to solve a murder and she starts getting like involved in her community because she doesn't really like talk to anybody. She's like a recluse. And then she slowly starts like becoming friends with people. And apparently it's really cute and they're so much fun. And her books are so funny. So I'm very interested. And these are cozy mysteries to see how this is going to play out. The next one coming out on March 14th is called The Renaissance of Gwen Hathaway. So our main character's mother has died before the book starts, and she becomes locked in this monotony because she doesn't want anything to change. Change frightens her because of what happened, and obviously she's gonna have to come out of her comfort zone. And it has to do with, obviously, Ren Fair. I love Ren Fairs. We go to one every year. There's one here in Charlotte. And she meets Arthur, the son of the new owners of the Ren Fair that her mother used to love going to. And obviously he messes with her head and she has to come out of her comfort zone. And it's just going to be really, really cute. Probably a bit heartbreaking because of dealing with death and loss and learning to love yourself again and learning to love life again. So I'm curious how this is going to manage it in a young adult romance, because sometimes it goes a little lighter than it probably, like it needed. Sometimes young adult writers get a little nervous and they don't want to go too heavy into loss. So I am curious how they're going to do that. Okay, the next one seems like a weird one. This is a weird one that I found, and it is called A Long Stretch of Bad Days by Mindy McGinnis. And of course, it has to do with podcasts. I feel like I just accidentally found a post about upcoming books about podcasts. But it is following our main character, Lydia Chass, who needs an extra credit to graduate, and she decides to transform her listener-friendly local history podcast into a truth-telling expose. She'll investigate the long stretch of bad days, a week when Henley was hit by a tornado, and a flash flood, as well as its first and only murder, which remains unsolved. So that sounds really, really good. It says it's a young adult mystery, so I don't know 100% what's exactly going to happen in that, because young adult mysteries, like I said, I love them, but sometimes they can be a bit odd. But this sounds really, really good. I'm very, very interested in this one. The next one coming out on March 14th is Flower Heart by Catherine Bakewell, and this is a standalone young adult debut, a stunning cottagecore fantasy romance about a girl with powerful and violent magic, which she must learn to control or lose everything she loves, and it's perfect for fans of Margaret Rogerson and Tamora Pierce. This one looks so beautiful. I love the cover of this one. This is on a lot of people's lists, so I'm very excited to see what this one is about. This one just got announced in a book box. This one is called Midnight Strikes by Zeba Shanaz. Yeah, I don't know how to say that. In this explosive fantasy debut with a time loop twist, a provincial girl must work with a roguish prince to stop an attack on the royal family and escape a nightmarish curse that forces them to relive the same night again and again. This could be interesting. Depends if the time loop is done correctly, because time loops can be very annoying. I don't like time travel as a rule. I don't enjoy it. But having two people stuck in the time loop, I could like that if they remember each other. That could be interesting, because sometimes time loops can get really, really monotonous because only one person isn't in it, and then they're like stuck talking to themselves and no one else remembers them. So if there's two people in a time loop, that could be good. Next one coming out on March 14th is Enter the Body by Joy McCullough. This is some sort of like Shakespeare retelling, something like that. It says it's a young adult historical fiction. I'm not sure about that 100%. But it says, in the room beneath a stage's trapdoor, Shakespeare's dead teenage girls compare their experiences and retell their stories of their lives, their loves, and their fates in their own words. I think that sounds so good, because there are so many characters, like I would love to hear Juliet talk about her life and her perspective. I think this sounds so good. Yeah, I'm really, really excited about that. Except I feel like I'm gonna have to like reread all of Shakespeare's plays, which is not like terrible. I actually really, really enjoy Shakespeare's plays, but that's a lot. So I'm probably gonna have to see which female characters are in it and then reread those plays. Except for Romeo and Juliet, I know that one by heart. I know that one off the top of my head. So, but that sounds really, really cool. Very unique idea. Okay, the next one coming out, I don't know about this one. I don't know about this one because I don't know how I feel about horror books still. Like, I love some other ones I'm just like, make me question if I like horror at all. But this has been on a couple people's lists and is called Pinata by Leopoldo Gout. It says, A Head Full of Ghosts meets Hereditary in Pinata, a terrifying possession tale by author and artist. And it says our main character is going to be Carmen Sanchez, and she's back in her home country of Mexico, overseeing renovations of an ancient cathedral. Never a good thing. It's never a good thing. There's an accident that takes place at the construction site, and they go back home to New York, where Luna, one of the other characters, begins to act strangely. And there are chilling changes that start happening to the younger sister. So I'm like, I don't do possession things. I don't do possession stories. They freak me out, and I don't know. This one sounds like it's going to be pretty popular in the horror community though. So I don't know. We're going to see about this one. This one makes me very nervous. Coming out, and last one we're going to be talking about on March 14th is Raven Song by Kayla Faye. A demigod who refuses to cohabitate with humans accidentally falls in love with one in the first book of a pulse-pounding teen duology that's Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Celtic mythology. That could be good. It also could just have Buffy the Vampire Slayer in there to grab your attention, because that's what grabbed my attention. Anyway, this sounds really cool. Obviously, Buffy, love it. So we'll see what happens. And that was it for March 14th. There's only 4 for March 21st. Thank goodness. I'm starting to get tired already. This video is already kind of long. Although I feel like I am going through it. This one has me stressed because I said I was never going to read from this author again because I really didn't like the first book. And I felt like I didn't need to read another one from this author. But one of my book clubs picked the book. And so I'm like, and it's going to be a book of the month. So I'm like, thanks. Thanks. So I am going to be reading this. But it is The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. The book that I read that I didn't love was The Lost Apothecary. Yeah. So I'm going to be reading this one. I'm the author of the sensational bestseller, The Lost Apothecary. That seems a little bit of a stretch. Spellbinding tale about 2 daring women who hunt for truth and justice and the perilous art of conjuring the dead. I do think this sounds more up my alley. I do think this sounds more interesting, but again, I don't love the timeline situation, I think. It just depends, because it says it takes place in 1873, so I kind of hope the whole book takes place in 1873, because that's what kind of lost me in The Lost Apothecary, was jumping from past to present. So we're gonna see about this one. I am going to be reading it reluctantly reading it. The next one is actually the second in a series, and I have not read the first one yet, but I know a lot of people enjoyed it, and it's Garth Nix. Everybody is obsessed with Garth Nix. But it is called The Sinister Booksellers of Bath, and it is the second book in the Left-Handed Booksellers of London series, which I have upstairs, and I really do want to read. I don't know why I keep putting it off. I'm not going to read anything else about it because obviously spoilers, so that's it. Just the second book of that one's coming out. The next one coming out looks really cute, and it is a graphic novel, and I'm so excited because I've been looking for more graphic novels, and it is called Belle of the Ball by Mari Costa, a young adult graphic novel about high school wallflower Belle Hawkins, who ends up in a love triangle after tutoring the girlfriend of her crush. I think that sounds really, really cute. It sounds really fun, and I'm very excited about that. The one we're going to talk about coming out on March 21st is called The Witch and the Vampire. So this is another young adult. There's a lot of young adult books coming out by Francesca Flores. Francesca Flores' The Witch and the Vampire is a queer Rapunzel retelling where a witch and a vampire who trust no one but themselves must journey through a cursed forest with danger at every turn. I think that sounds cute. I feel like there's not anything else more we need to say about that. Just sounds really cute. Okay, and we're moving on to March 28th, which also has a bunch of books in it, but I said I think that's the last date, but of course it's the last date because then it goes into April. Oh my gosh, March 28th has so many. Oh my gosh, there's one for March 30th. I'm gonna lump it in with March 28th. Because no, yeah, I'll just tell you when it's March 30th. Starting with our March 28th books, there are quite a few. Those Empty Eyes by Charlie Donley. Fans of Harlan Coben and Linwood Barclay have a new must-read in this deviously clever, skillfully plotted suspense novel. Our main character is Alex Armstrong, and she has changed everything about herself, her name, her appearance, everything. No longer the terrified teenager a rapt audience saw on television, emerging in handcuffs from the quiet suburban home the night her family was massacred. It is going to take place 10 years later after that happened, and she hasn't stopped searching for answers about what happened to her family, and investigation things, etc. This sounds like a good, quick, probably mystery thriller. The next one has the coolest cover I've ever seen, and it is called The Grey Mist Fair by Francesca Zappia. And it literally, the artwork is so freaking cool. This is a young adult fantasy. Like I said, it's like all young adult fantasy. Young adult fantasy is my favorite, but this is a lot. This is a lot. People of Grey Mist Fair know the woods are dangerous and they should never set foot off the road, but when a young tailor discovers a body on the road, her search for the culprit reveals even more strange and dark happenings. So, I mean, that sounds really, really good. It says it is inspired by lesser-known fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm. And I've read the whole Brothers Grimm collection. I love those collections. I have a very old copy that's just like falling apart. Love it. It's depressing as heck, but absolutely love them. The next one I obviously saw very quickly because it is by Mary Lou, who writes one of my favorite series, Warcross. Actually, I love the first book. The second book was a bit rough. And I also have her Legend series upstairs, but it's called Stars and Smoke, and it's going to be the start in a new series. Enemies to Lovers novel puts a superstar global phenomenon and a hotshot young spy on a collision course with danger and Cupid's arrow in an electric new series perfect for fans of Emily Henry and Nicola Yoon. So, sounds cute. The next one says it's a young adult thriller, Girl Forgotten by April Henry. Piper Gray starts a true crime podcast, it's all podcasts, investigating a 17-year-old cold case in this thrilling young adult murder mystery by New York Times bestselling author April Henry. I'm going to read it. If it has a podcast in it, I'm going to read it. And I feel like people have figured that out. I feel like authors have figured out, put a podcast in it, people are going to love it. And one of my more anticipated releases of the year, A House with Good Bones by I always say it wrong, T. Kingfisher. Yeah, cannot wait. Cannot wait for this. I've heard mixed things about this one. I heard it's weird again, but pretty much everything that T. Kingfisher writes is weird. A haunting Southern Gothic, shocker, from an award-winning master of suspense, A House with Good Bones explores the dark and twisted roots lurking just beneath the veneer of a perfect home and family. And the first quote is, "Mom seems off." Yeah, I'm gonna read this like so fast. And it also is a shorter book. It's 256 pages, so longer than What Moves the Dead, but shorter than The Hollow Places. So I'm excited as usual. I mean, I will read anything that this author writes, so hopefully I like it. And I like the weirdness. I like the weirdness in these books. Okay, this one makes me nervous. I almost said nervous. So it makes me nervous. I've been talking to my mom too much. My mom's from Boston, the Boston area. Oh man. Anyway, this is one that makes me nervous. This is another horror, and it's a historical fiction, and I think this is gonna be an underrated, like, big title. I think this one is gonna surprise people, and a lot of people are gonna, like, when it releases, people are gonna be like, oh. Lone Women by Victor Laval. Discover a haunting new vision of the American West from the award-winning author of The Changeling. Adelaide Henry carries an enormous steamer trunk with her wherever she goes. It's locked at all times because when the trunk is open, people around her start to disappear. The year is 1914, and she is in trouble. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all I want to know about it, but it makes me nervous because it says historical fiction, but I hope it's just because it takes place in 1914. Because otherwise, that sounds really cool, and that sounds like the type of horror that I'm really gonna like. Okay, we're getting to the last couple. The next one is called A Door in the Dark by Scott Rantgen. One of Us is Lying meets A Deadly Education. I don't know what that means because I read both, and I don't know how you could like find something more different. In this fantasy thriller that follows 6 teenage wizards as they fight to make it home alive after a malfunctioning spell leaves them stranded in the wilderness. So I guess the wizard part makes it a deadly education. I guess it's like, I bet there's monsters in it. Apparently one of them is dead on arrival. That sounds good. It sounds almost borderline horror. So that's probably why I picked it, because I probably picked it because it said a deadly education in it, and I'm just like, So this one, interesting. I'm interested in this one. Okay, this one I've been seeing quite a few times on quite a few lists, and it is called Chaos and Flame by writing duo Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland. It's going to be a young adult fantasy duology featuring ancient magic, warring factions, and a romance between the two people in the world with the most cause to hate one another. So Romeo and Juliet-esque retelling, maybe West Side Story retelling kind of thing going on. And it's tagged with dragons. I love me some dragons. So that's all that I know about that one. Okay, the next one is called In Nightfall by Suzanne Young. Another young adult fantasy, horror, vampires, etc. In the quaint town of Nightfall, Oregon, it isn't the dark you should be afraid of, it's the girls. The Lost Boys meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer in this propulsive novel from the New York Times bestselling author of The Treatment. Yeah, that's it. It's got vampires, be afraid of the girls in town. Love it. Love it, love it. Gonna read it. The next one I put on for other people, but it is young adult. I could like it because I did like Alexander Bracken's lore, but not Madeline Miller's Circe. So maybe I like young adult Greek mythology. I don't know. Anyway, this is called Spin by Rebecca Caprera. The Song of Achilles and Circe gets a sapphic young adult twist in this gorgeously lush feminist retelling of the myth of Arachne, spun in moving verse. Oh crap, it's more verse. But I think it sounds interesting. Again, the verse is what's killing me. I don't tend to read books in verse, so we'll see. And the last book, and it is coming out March 30th, is Games for Dead Girls by Jen Williams. This says adult mystery thriller / horror, and it says in the vein of Jennifer Hillier and Lisa Jewell, Jen Williams melds grisly urban legends and macabre secrets in a haunting and propulsive read that will linger long after the last page. When Charlie was 11, she created a monster. And it takes place in the seaside town of Hythe, England. This sounds really good. I think this sounds really good. And yeah, I feel like I said that to everything, well, for the most part. And she's trying to discover the truth about disappearances, and that's all I know about it. So yeah, most of this list turned out to be young adult. I don't really check before I do these. I kind of just like them as I go throughout the month. And then throughout the like 2 previous months, like I already have a list for April, but I need to like work on it more. Like I don't have that much for April yet, but I don't really pay attention to what I add other than if I see like a big name author, then I'm like, okay, add it. So I know to talk about this one. But it did turn out to be a lot of young adult. I wonder if like March is just like young adult season. I don't know. But yeah, I enjoy this list. I would say the one I'm most excited about is probably A House with Good Bones and Enter the Body. Enter the Body just sounds really cool with the Shakespeare stuff. But yeah. Oh, and Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murder. So there are quite a few that I'm very excited about. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe for more content. Like I said, I come out with this type of video every month at the beginning of the month. This probably will release at the end of February. Probably this weekend, actually. I don't know when exactly. I like to give people a little bit of a heads up before we go into the next month so they're ready. And then make sure to comment and let me know what books you're excited about, what books I missed. I would like to know what books I missed because that means it's not on my Goodreads, and I would like to know what I missed so that I know when stuff comes out. So would love to know that. What you're most excited about, what you're least excited about. That's always fun. I'm least excited about London Seance Society, but I'm still gonna read it. And yeah, make sure to like the video, and I will see you guys in the next one.